Hi everyone and welcome back to Dice Down Gaming. In today's video I'm going to take a look at the new rules for Exulon Nostilla and Aberration. Before I do that, a massive thank you to anyone who subscribed me so far. I'm really close to 400, I think I'm like 391 subscribers right now. 400 is amazing and my next big goal for myself is 500. If you like what I'm doing, I'd be really grateful if you subscribe to my channel. I'd love feedback on the video. If you like it, drop it a like, and I'd love feedback in the comment section. That'd be awesome. With that out of the way, let's get on to the video of the newest beefy boy in War Machine. Exulon Nostilla and Aberration are a merc choice that each Mark IV action has access to. So everyone in Mark IV can use these models. You can get them if you're subscribed with an annual subscription to the War Machine app, or they're going to have a retail release, which is going to be $70. First of all, I think the models look absolutely amazing. Aberration is just chock full of gear to kill you. I think the size of him and how substantial he is, really works. I think the models are just great. Nostilla's got that sort of creepy cephalic look to them, sort of slender body, lots of arms protruding from the model. I think they nailed the aesthetic, and I think that'll appeal to a lot of people. I think the 80mm stuff really works as like a great centerpiece to your army. If you haven't got a colossal, you don't want to run a colossal. These work really well. They stand out above the 50mm sort of heavy war beasts or war jacks. They really do stand out. So if you want to paint a centerpiece for your army, I think Aberration and Nostilla are going to be a great choice in terms of sort of hobby opportunities. But I think they're also going to be a pretty good choice in terms of what they bring to the table rules-wise. And let's get onto that. So, Exulon Nostilla is a journeyman warcaster. He's got a limited battle group, so you're only able to take Aberration with Nostilla. Very similar to Carver and Magnus. They come as a pair. That's that. Worth noting that currently Aberration hasn't got companion to Nostilla. So if you kill Nostilla, Aberration would be like an autonomous monstrosity. But as far as I understand, that is going to change in next week with the app update, and he's going to have companion. So if Nostilla will be removed, you'll also lose your Aberration. We've only got 10 boxes. So we've got lot of sixes. Speed, arcane attack, rat is all 6. Def 16, armor 14, arcana 5, and control 12. So at 10 boxes and with companion, or Aberration will have companion, you don't want to be, I'd say, too aggressive with Nostilla. 10 boxes is one good attack away from losing Nostilla and subsequently losing Aberration. We've got a few rules on Nostilla. Anatomical precision, so if it fails to exceed the armor relief model, you can just do 1 damage, and you can't tough against Nostilla, against a melee attack. Or, while within 5 inches of this model, living animals suffer -2 to attack rolls. This can be really, really good. I'm not sure how aggressive you want to try it and push up Nostilla to try and get that ore bubble across the table. Again, if you lose Nostilla, you're going to lose Aberration. So it's something to maybe try and see how aggressive you can get with in your playtest games and see how far you can get ore up the table and make use of that. But I would still be erring on the cautious side with Nostilla. Again, we can only have Aberration with Nostilla. And we've got Sucker. So if Nostilla is hit by a ranged attack, you can choose a friendly non-incorporeal warrior model within 3 to be directly hit instead. So that's quite good in terms of keeping them alive from ranged shots. And we've got Vitalizer, which is a special action, so you do this instead of a combat action, and you can give a monstrosity 1 focus point in range. In terms of attacks, we have actually 2 pretty decent attacks. We've got 1 Spray 12, which is really generous range. Rat 6, obviously boostable, and we have brain damage, so this won't come or sort of be apparent in most games. But if there are games you can brain damage an enemy sort of leader model and they can't cast spells because it's not crit, you've just got a hit. That's obviously could be really, really big in a game. And we've got 2 melee attacks at power 10. We've got anatomical, so maybe if you're doing against living enemy models, you might be able to just do the 1 point of damage. And also got inflict pain, so if you are in a melee with a war beast, you can add or remove a fury. I'm not sure how often that will come up. I don't think you want Nostilla in melee range of any war beasts. I think you want to keep Nostilla safe away from war beasts. And we've got 3 spells. Dark Seduction, which is cost 3, and takes control of an enemy non-leader warrior model. You can make a full advance, and you can make a basic attack. You can only do this once per activation, and you can only affect the model once per activation with the spell. Probably can become clutch in some games if you're later in the game. Your opponent's only got a few models to contest an objective. Obviously, being able to walk that model off the objective is really good. And when resources are limited, if you can have a warrior model attack your opponent's warrior model and kill it, that could be good later in the game. Probably won't come up massively, but when I think you do want to cast it, it will be really useful. We've got Revive, target 1 friendly trooper model. So this is good to note that this isn't friendly faction, it's friendly. So as I said previously, Nostilla can go in all of the Mark IV armies. So all the Mark IV armies will have access to Revive. So been thinking about like maybe the Storm Legion, the Cavalry, or Man of Wars in Kador, or those expensive models that don't normally have access to Revive. Just Alexia can revive the Storm Legion stuff, but it's good to have, and it's not restricted to friendly faction. So you're going to be able to revive any trooper model in your army if you've got Nostilla. It has to forfeit its movement and active combat when it comes back into play. And Vision, probably the one that sticks out the most. When target a friendly faction model, so this can only affect fellow mercs, but the one that sticks out to my mind in there is Kruger. Kruger's already pretty hard to kill, and I think really, really good. Having Vision on Kruger would be would be a pain. So Vision is when target friendly faction model is directed by hit by an attack. You can choose to have a suffer no damage from the roll, and Vision expires. So it's good also to note that it's not the first time it would suffer damage. It's you can just choose when you're hit by attack, you can trigger it. So you can't play around it by sort of firing a low power shot and removing it and then doing your high power shot. You can choose when to use Vision, and you can choose to use it for the higher power stuff. Nostilla, I think, is not bad. I think with Sucker will help keep you alive from ranged attacks, but bear that in mind if you lose your Sucker targets. I think pretty vulnerable at Def 16, Armor 14 with 10 boxes. Pretty vulnerable to being killed by shooting if you've got no Sucker targets near you. And in melee, very killable, I'd say, with or your pseudo Def 18 to melee model, living models, which is not too bad. But against, say, a Warjack or a Construct, you're going to be Def 16, which is pretty achievable. And again, Armor 14, 10 boxes, even if you're camping focus. Some people might be dice +5 at Armor 14 or more. You're probably going to get removed. So I'd want to keep Nostilla on the more cautious side, and I wouldn't be playing too aggressive with Nostilla. Like I say, it might be fun to see how much you can get out of ore without having Nostilla being killed. On to Aberration, the reals I'd say meat of the two. With 36 boxes, which is a big number, and he's got a rule called Hormone Manipulation. So as long as you begin your control in Nostilla's control range, begin activation in Nostilla control range, you can pick one of these 3 effects. Obviously, outside of things going very wrong, you should always start your activation in Nostilla's control range. So essentially, once per turn, you get a choice of one of these rules, and I think they're all really good. The first one is Adrenal Surge, +2 to melee attack damage rolls and Relentless Charge. So you're basically +2 power on all of your attacks, and you can have Pathfinder on demand, so you don't have to burn your Careful Reconnaissance card. Dopamine Boost, it gains Overtake and Swift Hunter. So if you kill a model, you can advance in it. And if you kill a model with a melee attack, a ranged attack, you can advance 2 inches. Overtake's only on melee. And Endorphin Dump +2 attack rolls. So, we're Speed 5, Mat 6, Rat 5, Def 10, Understand Blade, Armor 17. With Endorphin Dump, we're Pseudo, Mat 8, Rat 7. Really great numbers to have. With Adrenal Surge, we're +2 to our melee power, so we hit that much harder. And Dopamine Boost, we get some mobility whenever we kill something. And as you're about to see, we've got a lot of attacks. So these are all great rules to have, great options to have every turn. Hyper Aggressive, when it suffers damage from an enemy attack, it can advance fully towards that. Really, really good to get it up the board. If people want to try and sort of ping you and sort of get some early damage done, you can get some moved out of it. I think it's really not advisable against monstrosities in general because they're going to get focused for free. And with your opponent now with hyper aggressive on Aberration, getting a free move, I wouldn't be sort of trying to ping Aberration. I would be trying to remove it or not, basically. And we have Impervious Flesh, which is absolutely massive, so one less dice on damage. So in Brian Bloods, I have Roggers, which are armor 15, 24 boxes with Impervious Flesh. I find them, they're not too hard to kill, but Impervious Flesh against sort of low power stuff is a real pain. And now we're looking at armor 17, 36 boxes with Impervious Flesh. So we're pseudo like sort of armor 20 with Impervious Flesh, armor 19, 20 is sort of how it works out. It's going to be you're going to have to take some sort of effort into it to kill it. You're not going to kill it by sort of throwing stray shots. You're going to have to sort of apply a model that is had a buff, and maybe you've debuffed Aberration. I certainly don't think it's sort of above reasonable that you won't kill it in one turn. If you think an armor 20 36 box model, I think it's very killable in a current meta with the amount you can buff your models or debuff an opponent's model. But it certainly will take some thought behind it. You won't be able to just send a random heavy war beast into Aberration without any buffs and expect to kill it. So we've got a lot of attacks to go through, which is great. So we've got 2 ranged attacks. We've got a range 13 sort of single shot power 14 gun that's got grievous wounds. Really like this. Not crit grievous wounds, just grievous wounds. So on demand, you've got like a 18-inch grievous wound application. These numbers are at 5. If we pick the endorphin dump, we're going to be at 7. So I think that's the actual sort of tech for grievous wound on demand is really powerful. Sometimes you might think, okay, I'm going to send this into this, say, really buffed heavy, like it's been defensively buffed. I could ping it with grievous wounds and then send, say, like a malefactor or something else in any of your cohort models or any of your units, and know that that's now got grievous wounds applied. Really good to have. Then we've got a spray 8, reload 1. So this is an attack 3 with Shadowbind, and also not even crit Shadowbind, just flat Shadowbind. Again, really powerful. If we do endorphin dump, we're going to be mat 8, and if we Shadowbind something, we're pseudo mat 11. So we're suddenly very accurate. And having that on demand without crit, again, really good. So 2 really useful ranged attacks. Don't get me wrong, you're probably not going to be removing your opponent's Warjack from range with Aberration, but you've got 2 great techie shots. And then we get into melee attacks. So we've got a mat 6, which could be mat 8 with if we pick the hormone dump, or if we keep adrenal surge in mind. I'm just going to quickly exit Discord so we don't see that. we don't need random Discord pops up. Great. And then so we're mat 8 with the crit decap, or we're going to be we could be power 19 with adrenal surge. So power 19 and we could have crit decap. So power 19 with a decap will be pretty monstrous. Say you charge and you get your crit decap on an armor 20 model, and say you choose the +2 to your melee damage rolls, and we roll an average of 10. That's like 18 damage off the bat on an armor 20 model with the crit decap. So a crit decap you can't rely on, but having that built in means that if we just do pick +2 damage and pick to be power 19, that's good enough to sort of get through most heavies in one round. Crit decap will just mean that sometimes you spike and lift things off very easily. Tenderizer, we've got a mat 6 range 2 power 19 attack, so it could be power 21. We beat back, so we can push our model back, and then we can follow up. We've got 2 range 1 little claws, the little crabby claws. These have man catcher, so if you hit a warrior model, they're -2 death and can't advance. Could be power 16. So we're looking at 6 attacks, 7 with reload before we start buying additional attacks. We could do all 6 initials and then buy 3 tenderizers at power 21. We could endorphin dump and make all of our stuff rat 7 mat 8. Or we could pick dopamine boost and have overtake and swift hunter and be able to maybe Pac-Man through a unit in one turn. Overall, I think really good. Worth bearing in mind also, this guy's a monstrosity, so it keeps the focus allocated to it. It doesn't power up, but that sort of works quite nicely with hyper aggressive. So when you hit this guy, he's going to move and gain a focus. I think he's going to be good, maybe very good. I don't think he is going to absolutely sort of break the meta. I think we might see a lot of him when he's first released because the model is really, really cool. And they're a nice centerpiece for your army. Like, say, if you don't want to run a huge base, it can work quite nice to paint this guy and maybe have him as your like focal point of your army in terms of hobby. But I think he looks like a great lot of fun to play. Like basically 7 initial attacks if you want the 2 Shadowbind sprays, and if not, your 6 attacks plus maybe 3 Tenderizer attacks. It's going to do a lot of damage to what you send it into. It's going to be fairly resilient, I'd say, to what comes back at it. If I think of, say, in terms of myself, if I cast Raise on Shum, for example, I'd have 2 attacks at dice -1 and 1 attack at dice +1. If we do all these as single d6, it's probably sort of 4 plus my single d, so 8 plus, say, 4 more attacks at dice +1. So we might be sort of 28 damage on Shum if we roll average dice with just Raise. So, you know, it's not out of the realms of the possibility when you look at, can I remove this in 1 turn? It's very doable, and you're def 10. Even if you get ore behind it, you're def 12. So again, you're probably going to be hit. But certainly, if you can somehow like get ahead in the game, or, you know, get ahead in resources, it's not like your opponent can casually just send a unit in and expect to remove Aberration. You're going to have to send something committed to do it, and that is a strength in itself. I don't think it's going to be the same level of sort of Big Pig when it came out. I don't think it's going to warp the meta. I don't think everyone will take it, but I certainly think we will see quite a few of them on the table when they sort of arrive from the annual subscriptions or get a retail release. And I think that's great because I think the model looks good. I think it looks like a lot of fun to play. I don't think it's going to be too overbearing to play against. I don't think it's going to be too hard to kill, or it's going to sort of really lift off your whole army by itself. But I think it's potent. I think that's a really great place for everywhere to be. Ideally, everything's attractive in terms of it's got good rules, it will do stuff on the table, but isn't overbearing. And really, that's where I think if everything was like that, we'd be in a place where everything would be a choice. I think I'll wrap up there. It was a bit of an off the cuff. I would just like to talk about this model. I hope you enjoyed it. I love any feedback again in the comments. If you like it, if you like the video, I'd be really grateful. And if you like what I'm doing as sort of a content creator and you subscribe to me, I'd be super grateful. Thank you if you got this far into the video for watching. And I'm sure I'll see you in the next one very soon.